Stay back. Athletic Dads, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going through week 9, day 3 of the Athletic Dad program. We've got some med ball variations to warm up. We have close grip bench to a heavy single, then 5% off and a density set there. Then we go power shrugs, which will eventually progress into some of our clean movements. And we got some core to finish up. Really good day. Love to Bill Goldberg here. Shout out to him. Hey, if you're watching, one of the OG Athletic Dads. This is a great session. As always, any day that you can train is great. That's what this is. Great session, great day to lift. Enjoy the workout. All right, we're starting today off with a few med ball variations. I like med ball throws for a lot of different reasons. One, I think it's a great way to just wake your brain up, fire the CNS up. Sometimes you need to just take a ball and throw it as many ways as you want, as hard as you can. Do that for 5 to 10 minutes, 20 to 30 reps, and you'll come out of it warmed up, ready to go. Then I like to take the med balls and make them a bit more specific to the movements I'm doing. So today we've got close grip bench. So we're gonna start with a chest pass. So the idea here is to create just as much velocity as possible, stepping into the throw here. I'm gonna alternate kind of which leg goes in front first, but ultimately the idea is to throw the ball through that wall as hard as I possibly can. Anything between like 4 and 10 pounds is good. You get any heavier, makes it a little more difficult to create a ton of velocity when you're throwing the ball. I'm gonna throw this into the wall as hard as I can. We got 4 kind of each leg. 8 total each set. Got 2 total sets here. Using this to warm up that close grip bench position, so I'm kind of keeping that in mind as I'm throwing this ball. Then from here, we're gonna stay in the same spot and go rotational throws. Here we talk about rotating the spine, creating a ton of power through this rotational position. So this is gonna be the variation of that. Again, here, just trying to put as much energy and as much force into this ball that I can. Trying to take a big step into it and rip. I also fall into the camp of not believing power is plane specific. You hear some guys talk about that on social media. I think you want to be as powerful as you possibly can. You want to be able to create as much force as you possibly can. You build that in the weight room, doing different exercises, different types of throws, and then the specificity of that power application comes in the sport practice, right? So the weight room should be super general. We're just trying to build general qualities, speed, strength, power, among other things. Then when you get in your sport, that's when you take the specificity of the skill and apply that power and force production to whatever skill that you're trying to carry that over to. So let's say it's pitching, let's say it's just throwing a ball. It's better to be universally powerful and then be able to use that power, put it into application when it comes to throwing or swinging or hitting. You look at a guy like Ronnie Shin, who we've had on the channel a couple times. World Long Drive winner, World Long Drive Rookie of the Year from last year. He is powerful. He can squat heavy, he can jump high, he can run fast, he can create a lot of force and speed, and then he takes that power and he puts it into a golf club. So a lot of times golfers want to use medicine ball exercises, let's say here, right, kind of rocking back and forth, trying to develop these specific positions that they need to hit on the golf course, when really they should just be worrying about building as much possible power as they can, and then taking thousands of hacks with the driver or with their other clubs to be able to then transfer that power over to the golf club. All right, we've got 3 good working sets of singles, building up to a top 1 to drop a 5 to 7% to then hit a density set for 10 minutes, just like we've been doing. I want the individuals who are running this program to have some variability when it comes to their movement pattern. So if we just stuck to back squat, bench press, incline press, deadlift, whatever that is, sometimes over 12 weeks, something like that gets boring, especially if you've been training for a long time, or you've got a long training background. So I want you to have the freedom to be able to change exercises and variations dependent on what you have access to. So if you're used to training at a normal gym, where you have access to everything, and then one day you go over to a garage gym, for an example, and have a session with your buddies. Let's say they don't have the same equipment that you've been using. I want you to feel comfortable changing the variation just up a little bit and not totally feeling like they're going off program. So here we're showing a variation. We're sticking with the close grip because I do like that variation, and we've talked about that a little bit for aesthetics, for muscle building, for hypertrophy, but we're throwing the fat grips on because that's a fun variation. It's something that I'm not used to. And a big thing when it comes to variations is if it's your first time doing a variation, every rep is a PR, every set's a PR. So it's good for the ego if you want to do a different type of, let's say, close grip bench, like in this example. It's a good opportunity to do something different, hit something heavy. It probably is not as heavy as you would hit with a regular straight bar, normal grip bench press, but it is good to be able to hit something heavy and then boost the ego up a little bit because now you've got a new PR. And that's how you can keep building confidence and building wins throughout a program. So this is the first good working set. We got 275 on here. 295 here for the second set. I had a comment on one of my videos about a close grip bench saying, that looks like a normal bench press is what the guy said. So to me, a close grip bench is just based off of what you're used to doing, just a little more narrow than that. I also think about the movement pattern. So in a regular bench, we're gonna flare our elbows out a little more. In close grip bench, I want you really tucking those elbows in and keeping them close to your body. So even though it might look like a normal bench, you as the individual know that you are tucking your elbows, keeping it closer, using your triceps a little more, and that's what changes the variation from a regular bench to a close grip bench. All right, we got 315 on here for our last working set of one, our top single. I've got it set up in probably one of the more disrespectful ways to put on 315. So we got two 45s, we've got a 35 and a 10, and we're gonna end up stripping some weight off anyway for the density set. So 315, let's not get buried. Shh. Shh. All right, so we dropped down to 300 pounds, so 5% off that 315 top single. We're gonna go 10 minutes of a density set, trying to accumulate as many reps as possible. If you end up getting 25, 30, 35 reps, something like that, we went a little too light on the top set, but we're doing singles, so it should be a little easier to kind of navigate that top single, drop down, and then try to accumulate as many good reps as you can at that weight. And also shout out to my dad, the original, the OG athletic dad. I've got my Bill Goldberg shirt on, have so many great memories of watching WCW with my dad growing up, and that would be the one night, Monday nights when WCW Nitro was on, that he would let me stay up late to be able to watch Goldberg come out. He was always the last guy who was coming out and wrestling. So we'd wait all the way until the end of it. We'd watch him come out. The dude was just an absolute beast. If anybody's seen him, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't, go back and watch the videos of him on YouTube. But we'd watch him go down there, you know, spend 3 minutes playing with the opponent that he was going against, and then he would jackhammer the guy, he'd spear the guy, then he got up, he'd pin him, and then it was bedtime. So anytime I put on this shirt, I think about my dad. This would be a 3-hour video if I shared all of my thoughts on my dad and how appreciative I am of him, especially when it comes to the strength and conditioning stuff, because he's the one who got me into it over 20 years ago in the basement, lifting with him. He's the reason I have his writing in "You Are My Strength" on my wrist, because like I mentioned, he was the guy who got me strength training in the first place, and he is the reason that I am the person I am now at 38, and he's doing great. Again, shout out to him, and let's get 10 good minutes of some bench press here. Make Dad proud, make Bill Goldberg proud. I'm not adding a pause in there intentionally. It's just different with the variation, so I'm trying to really groove that, be nice and slow to my chest. Once I get there, I feel comfortable punching it off. So it's not intentional, it's just making sure I don't crush myself.
Like the guy that's on your shirt. He's just an absolute beast.
Through this most recent phase, we have been transitioning from barbell RDLs to, you can call them clean pulls, you can call them power shrugs, but we've got 3 weeks of the power shrugs, then we go 3 weeks into a snatch grip power shrug with the idea of, if you enjoy the Athletic Dad training and want to continue with this style of training, I have a concurrent training program that goes on through TrainHeroic, which I'll have the link in the bio here, that you can get on board with, and it's similar training to this program. It's just progressions of this style of training and these movements. So I like doing cleans, I like doing snatches. I think they're athletic, I think they're great for strength and power production. So because we're doing that in the concurrent model, this is kind of getting us ramped up to start introducing that stuff as we move forward. The idea here is to pull the bar off the ground, not quite like a deadlift, but more like we're starting an actual power clean. So I'm trying to push through the ground with a nice tall chest, move my knees, hips, and shoulders all at the same time. As I get that bar up towards my hip, I'm trying to extend super hard through the hip with a big shrug at the top. So we've got triples here at 315. Stay back. Also progressing our row variation here. So we've got an inverted row with an iso hold to start. So we got a 10-second hold to start, and then as many reps as we can, again, using the straps. So the grip isn't the limiting factor. Set myself up here. Here we go, 10 seconds at the top. And then getting all the way at the bottom, pulling that chest all the way to the bar. $17, I basically cut that off as soon as I can't get my chest up to the bar. All right, a progression from our tuck jumps early on in the program is gonna be a repeat hurdle hop. So we've got 4 benches. Set the bench or set the hurdle, whatever you feel comfortable getting over. But we're gonna go repeat jumps, trying to spend as little time on the ground as possible. Make ground contact, pop right up, trying to be real elastic off the ground. We'll go repeats as we get up over the box. As I warm up for repeat jumps like this, I try to spend a little more time on the ground, get comfortable in that landing position and takeoff position. I feel pretty good, so I kind of jumped right into it, spending now as little time on the ground as I've ramped up here. All right, set 2 triples through 25s on there. Trying to keep good position. You can make this as much like a clean as possible. $17, second set. Ooh, probably a bit heavy. We'll take it though. All right, little core to finish up here. We're standing right in front of Spencer's front squat rack because he said, don't show my weight because you're bench pressing more than I'm front squatting. So when that happens, you show the weight. We're going big stretch to the bottom for this oblique crunch. Been building these up. Got just 10 each way. Again, I'm using the strap so I can really load this movement up. Again, trying to get the spine to flex and extend as much as possible here laterally. Remember, if we got back pain, if we wake up low back discomfort, gotta move the spine through tons of different ranges of motion. Rotation, flexion, extension, lateral flexion, extension. Just give some love to the spine, grease the grooves up a bit. And because that's a big focus in this program, we eventually get into the point in this scenario now where we're loading some of these spine movements up because we've been doing them long enough throughout the program that they should be prepared and ready to go for these loaded oblique crunches. Again, I'm using 85. If that's too much, man, use 10, use 15, use 25. Wherever you're at, where you feel like you can get a big stretch and a big crunch on the other side, use that. Doesn't have to be super heavy, but if the body feels prepared for it, go ahead and put those muscles and that spine under some load here. Last exercise here, weighted sit-ups. So I'm setting up where, got some dumbbells here, and then the weight is gonna be up at the top, just like all the spine movements you talk about. We're trying to move one vertebrae at a time here, and these are pretty sneaky. So we're gonna go one set, kind of as many as we can do here. Keep the dumbbell up at the top. Think roll up to the top and then down, nice and slow. And then I like to kind of raise my hips Raise my lower back hips a little bit just to finish kind of getting that bottom part of my spine there into extension. All right, Athletic Dads, that's the day. Continue to practice gratitude. Tell the people you love them. Live your life stimulated. Catch you guys on the next one.